Wee. All right, so this would be like the last episode because we're doing the boss fight. I gotta turn my... Hey boy.
Frightened of your shadow?
Oh gosh.
Now wipe your mouth. Oof. Miss me, now you gotta kiss me.
Absurd pugilist.
No. I don't know if I really have. I don't know if I really can like survive right now. Nope.
Make-believe Avenger.
I don't know if I can like just shoot these guys. I don't think I can. I don't think there's anything I can do about it. Oh my gosh, let me go. Oh jeez.
Absurd pugilist.
Darn it. This might be a little bit of a grind because I am somehow starting with not a lot of health bar.
Make-believe Avenger.
I don't know how to like reload this thing. What the heck? The yuck. What the heck? Dude, I was so far away on that one. What? No, you're not allowed to do that. Not allowed to do that. You sicko. Oh my gosh, no. think it does anything if we try to kill the hand things. Man. The hands are hard to even like counter. Like, how do you even counter something like that? You never know what way or direction it's going. So I feel like if we avoid it altogether, it'd be pretty hard to do, because it's like, dude, how do you run away from the hand things? I think you have to just dodge them at the last second. That actually makes a lot of sense. Oh dang, I just got freaking 3 hearts on it. Oh gosh. Ah. No. Hi! You didn't get me. You can't get me, come on! Oof.
Absurd pugilistic.
Let's go. Oh, what? Oh. Look at that. Sleepy baby. Sleepy.
I'll see you charged. In prison, some half-wit bruiser will make you his sweetheart, and then you'll hang.
Indeed. A hysterical woman, former lunatic, roaring outrageous
A
accusations.
woman?
A respectable social architect and scientist. My God, Alice, who would believe you? I scarcely believe it myself.
You monstrous creature.
You monster!
Will be punished.
By whom? By what? Psychotic, silly bitch. Your madness will be punished. Now leave. I'm expecting your replacement.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh no. Okay. So well,
go home again. No surprise, really. Only a very few find the way, and most of them don't recognize it when they do. Delusions, too, die hard. Only the savage regard the endurance of pain as the measure of worth. Forgetting pain is convenient, remembering it agonizing. But recovering the truth is worth the suffering, and our wonderland, though damaged, is safe in memory for now.
Okay, well, and that's the series. Wow. That took what, 5 episodes, maybe. I think I screwed up maybe 1 episode, and it's all good. But yeah, so she did not learn her lesson, the biblical lesson. Unfortunately, the biblical lesson from all this would be to have forgiveness. And so since she didn't have forgiveness, what happened is she had to stay in Wonderland, which is actually not a good place. She stayed tortured, fighting her demons. Basically, she's gonna stay in Wonderland fighting the demons longer, because that's what it is. If we are basically what the Bible says, if you don't forgive, you won't be forgiven, and if you don't forgive, you'll be given to the torturers. So she's gonna be given back to the torturers, and yeah, so that's how that works. Pretty cool game. I thought it would have like, most stories are about forgiveness, but because it's like what the antagonist ends up like having to deal with at the end of the day. You know, it's like, you know, you have all these conflicts, and like at the end of the day, you have to forgive or not. And I knew for sure this was going to be one of those kinds of stories that had like the antagonist, were they going to forgive or not, blah, blah, blah. And so that's why I was like, oh, I have to figure out how this story goes, and the lesson, you know, they're trying to teach you in this. And that's kind of why I'm like picking some of the content that I'm doing, because I want to kind of extrapolate, and they have a lot of programming and, like, you know, lessons to you know, they're trying to tell a story, and they're trying to give you the moral of the story. And I feel like a lot of the time you're not getting the actual moral of the story. You're getting like a version of it and like some twisted thing. And I feel like people will come away from it going, oh, you know, this is what I should have, you know, done. Maybe trying that, and then like still like suffering because of that. It's like all these people talk about like karma and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's what the Bible says. So like a lot of people talk about karma and blah, 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 but it's like, that is literally how forgiveness works. If you don't forgive others, you won't be forgiven. If you don't bless others, you won't be blessed. If you curse others, you'll be cursed. It's that simple. He's like saying like this, he's making the karmatic system and what people call karmatic. He's saying that is a universal truth. And that is the truth. If you do have unforgiveness in your heart for people, it will drive you crazy and make you have cancer of the brain or the heart or in real life. It is, and that's the point. And most of these stories are talking about that in one way or the other. Most things that you watch on TV, I challenge you to watch a TV show, and as soon as you see unforgiveness in the character, watch what happens. Because the movies are trying to show you what happens, and they will devolve as a character into this cold, bitter, blah, 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 blah. And they'll try to seek their own revenge, and it will change them as a character and as a person. It's like they will like have this, like, instead of having a hero arc, they'll have a villain arc if they have unforgiveness. If they have forgiveness, they will have a hero arc. And you'll see that in the movies all the time. And they try to kind of tell the story because that story is like the most important story to humankind and how we deal with all of our problems and all of our conflicts all together. Every single conflict you ever have had, ever, how you deal with work, how you deal with people, your family, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, whatever. We have to come to that conclusion of forgiveness. And if we don't, it will literally change what's going to happen to you. And so I think a lot of people go, well, what are you supposed to do? You know, it's supposed to be some doormat and get walked on and blah, blah, blah. No, we're supposed to celebrate. We're supposed to worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. Okay. So the truth is, we have to be honest with ourselves and honest with other people. And we have to, and the spirit means we have to, obey the Spirit's prompting. When God goes, you need to go forgive this person, you have to do that. That's what following the Spirit is. If the Spirit is telling you have to go to that person and forgive them, blah, 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 and go make peace, because that's what he says in the Bible. He says, go make peace. If you go make peace, he goes, leave your sacrifice at the altar and go make peace. And then he says, if you don't, he says, and then go make peace with your brother and then come back to the altar. That's what he's trying to tell you. He's like, it's more important that you do the thing that I'm telling you and go making peace with your brother than it is the sacrifice of you trying to do a good deed. Like trying to cover it up with your good works, like trying to do the works-based thing. And he's like, it's more important that you go make peace than it is for whatever your sacrifice is, because I'm not going to honor your sacrifice. I don't care. He's basically saying, I don't care about what your sacrifice, like, you give money to the church, or you do this and you do that. You're nice to people and da, 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 da. If you have somebody that you have unforgiveness with, it doesn't matter. It's going to hold you back. And that's what I'm saying. This has affected me. This is a huge deal in my life because I was just racking them up. That was just how I was. I didn't know to forgive anybody, and I never did it. Ever. I've remembered everybody that hurt my feelings, and I hated a ton. I hated a ton of people, and it was, in my mind, it was justified. So, it's not like it isn't. It's not like it's not justified. But like I said, when you give it to the Lord, you're sitting there going, okay, I'm going to give it to him. Then you're not internalizing it into your soul no more. And then when you're supposed to follow the Spirit, like I said, we're supposed to worship in spirit and in truth, right? If you don't worship him in the Spirit, when he's telling you to go to that person and blah, 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 and you say, oh, I just did it in my heart and it's fine, blah, 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 but he wants you to go to that person. Like, then you are wrong until you do. That's the point. Because he's trying to get you to acknowledge the Holy Spirit and get you comfortable in that place where he's going to ask you crazy things to do, maybe hard things to do, or something that's challenging that might be like, you don't really know. And that's the kind of the thing, because if that's like the whole idea of being a servant of Christ, is being able to recognize what that voice is and that irking inside your soul to do the right thing, and to do it instead of the wrong thing, and to follow that. And to, basically he's trying to get you to understand how that works. And when there's somebody that you have unforgiveness with, and you have that pull in that's the feeling. If you want to know what the Spirit is like and blah, blah, blah. If there's anybody in your heart that he's saying, do you have to go forgive? If you want to know what the Spirit in your heart is is and how it talks to you, it's that conviction telling you you have to go to that person and do it in person. You know, not everybody, like sometimes we just like bump into people and offend them, blah, blah, blah. It happens all the time, literally all the time. And like, we're not trying to do it, blah, blah, blah. But it's like the people that we have the most problem with are usually the people that are like really close. It's like, it's like this. If some stranger came up to me and insulted me, I really wouldn't care, because it's like a stranger, who cares? But usually we have the most problem with people that we put a lot of investment in. So like people we do actually really, really, really care about, you know? So it's like, I had to go to my ex-wife. I had to go to like friends, or basically ex-friends. I had to go to my parents because I was ticked about them, how they dealt with me when I was a kid. But also I was a piece of work when I was a kid. Right. So, I mean, I was sneaking out of the house at 14, smoking cigarettes. You couldn't hold me. I was basically grounded 24/7 because you couldn't, I was so angry all the time, and so justifiably angry, and had no forgiveness for anybody, that I was just red hot, dude. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was so rebellious. So that's how I'm trying to say, like, that's why I wanted to have like a second. If you've watched this video, if you've watched this series as I played this game and talked about, some of the things, most of this game, we're just having fun. We're having fun. I'm having fun. But I just kind of want, like, any time in the game that something came up about forgiveness, I was trying to inject some truth against the lie that the game is trying to tell you. So that was the whole point. And so I'm basically going to try to find more games like this that I can go and check out, and like that has these like, deep story lines and like, things about unforgiveness and cool things like that, so that I can basically put my perspective on things. And I would say the correct perspective. And I think another thing is perspective. Can we talk about perspective really quick? Because perspective is what drives how you look at the world. Okay. If you look at the world in this perspective instead of that perspective, it's either positive or negative. There's basically, like, you could be like, maybe like, who cares about some things, but ultimately it's like, you have to kind of pick, what it is, that how you look at things and how you perceive things. And it's like, and what my point is it's the difference between being thankful or not is a perspective, right? So in the same way, God wants us to have a position of our heart. Does that make sense? A position of your heart is a perspective. It's having a point of view that is in sync with the Lord, if that makes sense. So perspective is absolutely everything. And essentially what it is like, what you're doing is you can take logic, and it's like, if you don't inject any morality into it, it's just like, there's something in front of me, I have to get out of my way, bam, you punch it, oh wait, that was a baby. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have morality injected into into logic, it's basically worthless stuff, because what are we doing with the logic if it's not ethical, right? So essentially what perspective does is gives you the it shows you what exactly is good. It's the perspective of things. And so, like, it's either you're thankful for something or you're not, based on the same exact facts, if that makes sense. And so we're trying to have a position of our heart based on perspective, and based on like, basically ethics as well, right? And when you can do that, then you are making great decisions, great decisions. And you're not doing them from a place of like an emotional place, if that makes sense. You're not doing like an emotional thing necessarily. Like you can like have emotions attached to these things, but you're not doing it like purely an emotional way. Flying off the handle. You're basically using logic with ethics driven by perspective to get to where you want to go, if that makes sense. Because if you're doing like, and the reason why doing it based totally on feelings is because feelings can be justified. And that's the point isn't that they can or can't be justified, but the point is like justification for a feeling doesn't mean it's right necessarily. It doesn't mean it's the most moral good. If that makes sense. It's not necessarily the most moral good. It's like if I feel angry at somebody for doing something, you know, let's say it's somebody who is like, you know, it doesn't justify necessarily doing anything to that person, you know, and we understand that. So that's what I'm saying. And it's like, and basically we're trying to do the exact same thing as that, but for our posture of our heart. We're doing the same posture for our heart. Because if you go to a kid and you tell them, hey, you should, if you go to a kid and you tell them you should go say sorry, and they'll go, oh, sorry. And you be like, and you tell this kid and you go, hey, go say sorry. They go to the kid, another kid or whatever, and they go, oh, I'm sorry. And you could tell that their heart isn't in it. And you'll say like that kid has a bad attitude, right? Because they don't feel genuine in their heart about it, right? It's because they don't have the perspective. They don't want that. They're not thankful for that. They're not happy about that, right? And it's like they're not truly sorry. You know what I mean? That's my point. It's like when you are, and that's what I'm saying. That's the position of our heart we have to be in. We have to forgive people even though they don't deserve it. And what that's called is charity. It's called charity. So when you do something for somebody who doesn't deserve it, it's called charity. And that's the kind of love thing. And that's like crazy, you know, because he's like, he honors that. And then it's like now you're living in this space where, you know, your boss says something to you, your parents, your, you know, significant other, your ex-wife's new husband. Go find the people in your life who don't do it. It's not going to be hard. They're going to be the most miserable people. They're going to have the worst attitudes. Okay. And when they do forgive, and here's the thing, sometimes it takes us a second to get on the right page. It might take some time. Okay. When I found out I had to forgive, it was not easy. And it took me like a whole year to go to some of these people because it was really ticked. Also, I didn't even know what I was going to do when I got in that situation. I didn't know. So I didn't know what they were going to do, blah, blah, blah. Right. And sometimes you get in situations where you don't know what's going to happen, but you know, so I realized forgiveness is like for me, and you can't make anybody forgive you. You can't talk them into it. That's why that's how we're meant to do it. Like that's why we're like meant to, like, basically, you know, that's why we're meant to do that work in our own heart. And it's just like, yeah, you know, and to tell people it's super easy, I would say like it gets easier at first when you are like scared and you are convinced that you're doing the wrong thing and the devil's in your ear telling you all this stuff and scared doing it, or telling you that these people aren't justified and la. But if you can overcome that with like the charity form of love, when you're sitting there like, I don't care if this person deserves it or not, I'm still gonna go forgive them, blah blah blah. And you do it, and you don't care. Doing something very, very, very specifically. I'm gonna exit out of this. The music is driving me nuts. You're doing is something very, very specifically, like interesting. Okay, it's like really, really interesting, because moment where you have to go, okay, I have to overcome this fear. You're doing basically everything that you have to do to be a Christian. You have to fear not, and you have to rely on the Lord for whatever is going to happen, no matter what happens. And that's faith. You have to love somebody that doesn't deserve it. You have to give charity to them, which they don't deserve, which is the same charity that we get that we don't deserve. And then we have to like face our fears. Yeah, your fear. You have, and you rely on the Lord. The Lord is going to be your strength. And then you're going to have joy instead of fear. And then you're going to be able to be thankful instead of being unthankful. See how, and when you're doing all this stuff, you're going to be living in a different reality than most people. That's basically how it works. You're going to be living in this a reality without this pain, this torture, this worry, the fear. It's not like it's not going to have, you're not going to like maybe put in situations where it's going to sting you a bit. Cause we're still going to go through life. But here's the difference. Here's the difference. There's going to be so much more times that you're not going to pick the thing that's going to hurt you. Like you just like, essentially what I'm saying is once you're out of the curse, once you're out of being under a curse, from unforgiveness, once you're out, there's not a lot of convincing you to want to go back. Like you are sitting there going, dude, there's no way I'm going back there. That amount of torture every day, waking up ticked off all the time. I'd wake up every day ticked. It wouldn't matter if it was a sunny day or not. Didn't matter if there was anything in my bank account or not. Didn't matter if I was stoned, had a cigarette in my hand, I was drinking, had a hot girlfriend, didn't matter. There's nothing could convince me, because I was getting tortured inside. And like I said, if you get out of that curse by getting rid of unforgiveness and just stepping away from that, you're not going to want to go back. And then you're not going to be putting yourself in positions to be in that position again. You're not gonna. You're going to be like, wow, this is the best. I don't want to, and then next thing you know, you're going to be picking the relationships that you could or could not be in differently. These people, if they don't have any forgiveness in their heart, there's not a chance you want to be with them. Not a chance. It's like I was attracted to other people who had unforgiveness. That's how it worked. I was attracted to other people who were just as tortured as I was. And this is what I tell my son. Basically, like when you are, don't be in a trauma bond with people. That's what I mean. You shouldn't be in a trauma bond with people. You should be in a godly bond with people. Right? Because there's no way now that I would be with somebody who has unforgiveness now. Like there's just no way. Because I know that I wouldn't want that person. I want that person to have my back. When I'm crashing out, when I'm having a bad day and my back's against the wall, I really, really, really need somebody who has forgiveness in their heart too, to sit down there and remind me, hey, look, it's going to be fine. God's got this. You're going to be okay. Blah, blah, blah. And I need that. I don't want somebody to go, yeah, we should just go freaking do a mission and slash their tires. There's no way. You know what I mean? And go get locked up and this and that, you know, or get drunk about it. It's like, and then how many times am I going out and getting drunk about something, or gonna go go get high, or go have a cigarette because I'm so ticked off that because I'm not dealing with the problems I have to deal with. How many times? There wasn't enough drinks in the world. There wasn't enough cigarettes in the world. Trust me. I was smoking those things like it was going to cure cancer, but it was like giving me cancer. You know, I was smoking pot like it was somehow going to get me out of it. And I was just like the most stoned ever. And it's like, and nowadays it's like, I'm so blessed. I'm just like, I can't even believe it. And, you know, that's what I'm saying. And it's just like, you basically like, you won't be choosing to be in circumstances like that now. You know what I mean? You're not going to be choosing to be in a relationship with somebody who's like that. And people have their hard days and stuff. Like I'm saying, you're not going to have anybody who's not going to be perfect, but I want somebody to have my back. I want somebody to have my back. And then I want to be able to be there for somebody who needs to hear that too. When they're crashing out, I want to be there for that person and say, hey, look, it's going to be fine. God's got this, you know, blah, blah, blah. We'll have some faith in da-da-da. You know what I mean? And then that person will be uplifted and go and get closer to the Lord. And that's what it's supposed to be like. You're trying to keep that person, you know, afloat. They're trying to keep you afloat. I mean, you obviously can't just be like, here's the thing. The closer you are to the Lord, the less you have to rely on people all the time to keep you afloat. Because the more you read the Bible and the more you believe his blessings and more you believe what he's saying, the less you're going to be having to rely on more people to talk you, you know, off the ledge. The closer you get to the Lord, you're just going to be like, oh man, I know the Lord's got me, because you're going to have this relationship with him where you're going to trust him more, and you're going to know that his blessings are going to be true because you're going to be doing that more and more. And especially like if you do more, if you keep forgiving people and you keep focusing on that instead of trying to get what you want. Anytime you're trying to get what you want and trying to hold on to this life, the more you do and try to get what you think you deserve, the worse you're going to get. The worse you're going to get. Anytime you're trying to hold on to everything that you think you deserve, I deserve this and I deserve that. Anytime you're trying to get to that, it's like literally, it'll tick you off. It'll always make you upset. Look around. Every time that you feel like you deserve something, it's never a good feeling, right? And look at all the categories of your life. Oh, I should have, you know, I deserved a better this, a better that, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and that's what's being unthankful. That's what's being unthankful. You're not being thankful for what you have. That's a perspective. And once you're like sitting there going, okay, every time I think I deserve something, then you're sitting there going, okay, now I'm going to be grateful for anything I have. And I'm not going to be ticked off about everything all the time. And then the Lord's going to sit there and go, good, we got some work to do. I want you to encourage others. I want you to go over to somebody else and say that it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. It's going to be good. And then the Lord can use you as a servant to go and encourage others. It's like, if you can't get that encouragement for yourself, it's hard to encourage anybody else. You know? And like I said, once you're spending more time with the Lord and doing this stuff, then you can encourage others. And the less you do, the less you're going to be like, you know, encouraged, and the more you're going to need somebody else, you know? And it's like, basically you're just coping, you know, and you're just trying to cope. So it's like, I don't know. Has anyone ever heard the gospel even talked about like this? You know, like, be honest. Have you ever heard anyone talk to you about this and say that this is what the gospel's like? Has anyone ever explained it this way? I mean, let's be honest. What do you consider Christianity? What do you consider? How do you consider how this is supposed to work? I never, like, when I was a Christian, quote unquote, back in the day, I grew up Christian and blah, blah, blah. I was basically just hedging my best. I don't even know. But what I'm saying is, I basically was like sitting there going, I can't take anything home from this. I have to believe that Jesus was a man who showed up and died on a cross for my sins. Okay, I can believe that. The end. Okay, well, when people tell me, when pastors say, when I hear what pastors say, and they say, you just have to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ that you can be saved. Okay, I hear that and I go, okay, that's great. But what's the point of him going on the Sermon on the Mount and him talking about forgiveness? You tell me, explain to me what that means then. You explain to me now why he had to go and talk about forgiveness and how to have grace for others and how to have charity and blah, 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 blah. And then that's what the Gospels were talking about, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Romans and Acts and Ephesians and Corinthians and all that. All that's talking about is how to love one another in the ways that we're supposed to do it. Peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, blah, 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 right? It's explaining what this is. It's explaining what this is. And it's like the other way around, a lot of people just go, oh, like, you know, it's just Christianity is so hard. They keep moving the goalposts every time you think you're doing good. Oh, no, you're not. And they blah, 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 blah. And they always, and next thing you know, it's like you're worse than you start off. And it's like, well, no, because you never even heard what the gospel was. Because it's like, if you tell me that I'm supposed to believe in Jesus, okay, I will have to believe what he says. You have to believe in and on. There's a verse that, I think it's in John. It says you have to believe in and on Jesus. Jesus says something and you have to believe in him and on him. There's a verse that says in and on. And when I read that, I went, oh my gosh. In and on. I have to have faith in him, and I have to have faith on what he says. Then I had to read what he says and what he even talked about. When I'm reading those red letters for myself, I just went, wow. That's actually what I have to do. I have to forgive people. Well, how does this grace work? Oh, it's charity. Oh, we have to give to others that don't deserve it. Wow. Like, it just blew my mind. I've never heard this before. Nobody ever explained it to me. I feel like every time you go to church, you get less and less out of it. Sometimes. It's crazy. I'll go to church and I was sitting there going, and I'll still go to church nowadays and I'll sit there going, I wonder what they're going to talk about today. Because you're sitting there going, I hope that they even get there. And what happened is, this is what's happened in my life, currently speaking right now. I've been making these videos. I've been talking about this subject matter for so long and putting out so many videos and talking to so many people that it literally has affected my church. And my church, my pastor has literally been going on and talking about forgiveness and talking about grace, talking about love, how this works and the gospel. Because, and the reason why it's so crazy is because You never see it. There's so many subjects that they talk about in the Bible. And all these subjects that these pastors talk about. But it's like, what are we talking about here? How does this affect me? What am I going to do today? How am I going to take something? What am I going to take home with me and be able to use right now and be able to actually change the position of my heart? How am I going to do that? How am I going to actually change what's going on in here? Right? And I'm sitting there going, I feel like a mess. I know that I'm coping like crazy. I'm addicted to everything that I can get my hands on. And if I found something harder, I'd probably stuck on that too. But, I was too scared to get on the harder stuff because I knew I was just going to be hooked on anything that was any good. That's all I'm saying. And I'm sitting there going, dude, if I even touch harder drugs, I'm going to be on that like white on rice. Because I already knew this. I already knew. And that's why I was like trying to avoid it as much as I possibly could, obviously. But here's the point. I'm not saying that I have the answer, but I'm saying Jesus has the answer. Go in the Bible, read it for yourself. Call me a liar. I don't care. Just go prove me wrong that that's exactly what the gospel says. Go in there and tell me that's not exactly what he's talking about. And also, have you ever heard it that way? I never did. I grew up in the church. I went to Christian school. I knew everything about the Bible. I was literally the last person in the world that, like, you could talk to me about Christianity. It's like I grew up around Christians. I knew that's all the people I knew were Christians. All the people I knew were Christians. And if anybody had a problem with Christians, it was going to be me. Because these people let me down. They hurt my feelings. They did this and that. They hurt me a lot. Adults, kids, all kinds. They're all people. They're all doing stuff. I married a girl that went to my church. She let me down. My parents let me down. My teachers let me down. My pastor let me down. My bosses let me down. Girlfriends let me down. Best friends let me down. Strangers let me down. Dude, once you're let down that many times, you're going to start trying to figure out what's going on here. Or you're going to just start secluding yourself, try to get away from people, And that's obviously like we already, like everyone just instinctively knows that that's not good. And it's like, I mean, ask anybody, even worldly people know that you start secluding yourself. It's like, and even worldly people think that if you start hating everybody, that's bad news bears, So all I'm just saying is like, and I feel like a lot of the time is you'll find people who are hurt the most is because they care the most. They've had the most care for people the most, and that's what hurt them the most. And then also a lot of the nicest people, all the people who are the best people who would love with a lot of like just so much love coming from them, they get hurt and they get let down. And what happens? They snap the hardest. They go crazy the most. People who are like the nicest people go the craziest because they'll sit there and go, "You don't realize what I would have done for you. I would have drove all across the state, went and picked you up in the middle of the night out of a drop of a hat. How dare you? How dare you?" Sweetest girls. Innocent, sweet, sweet, sweet. Very sweet. And I treated them like crap. I was like, and I just like, ugh. You're too sweet. It's like, you're too vanilla. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, I was so damaged and like such damaged goods that I was like, ew, you're like a sweet, nice person. Ew, get away from me. Like it would just disgust me. I'd be like, ugh, dude, you're like, ugh. And it's like those people are like the nicest of the nice people, and they get it the worst when they don't have forgiveness. They are going to be like, I can't believe that they did. I would have done anything for these people. It's like, how many people feel that way right now? You know, it's probably somebody out here goes, you know, dude, I put it all into this relationship. I did delete all those girls. I changed jobs. I changed states. I freaking changed her kids from another marriage's diapers. I've done so much. And it's like those people get hurt hard. And those kind of people are sitting there going, what do I do now? What do I do now? I mean, am I right? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? This is everyday people, dude. I can't get on a dating app without a girl has 2-3 kids. Average of two kids. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm saying there's a disconnect between people and then the relationships and forgiveness. They don't know how it works. They don't know how servitude is. They don't know how to serve each other. They don't know how to give charity to each other. They don't know how any of this works. No clue. And I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with having kids. I've got a son. I want another kid or something. You know, it's like I wouldn't mind if she had kids, right? I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. My point is once you've served that person and just put yourself out there and you've done all this stuff for somebody, if you get hurt and they just burn you, like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do when you've put it all on the line? You've been the nicest person. You've been the sweetest person. You've gone to hell and back for somebody. And maybe them and their kids from a different marriage or something. What do you do? I know I have a stepdad. I've got a stepdad. I put him through hell in a handbasket. I did it on purpose. Most of the time. Screw that guy. That's what I was thinking. I'm serious. Hated him. And here's the thing. What do you do? What if it's now you? What if you're the guy that's just trying to be there and just trying to keep the marriage together, trying to make sure these kids get, have shoes and, what if you're the girl? You put yourself out there and, go with this guy and you don't know and blah, blah, blah. And maybe you make it work and da, 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 da. And you've served this guy and, folded his darn socks and everything else. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Because in my opinion, what are we doing? We'll start coping. We'll start talking that smack to somebody else. Why do you think that gossip is one of the things we're not supposed to do? Because that's the first thing that you want to do, bro. First thing you want to do. First thing I want to do. Find that Marb Red. Camel Wide. Light that thing up. I don't smoke no more. Praise the Lord. But look. What's the first thing I want to do? Light up that smoke. find a freaking a beer in a bottle, maybe a few of them, and start talking smack. Oh my gosh, bro. You couldn't shut me up. I was talking about, I mean, I can say it now. My poor ex-wife. Goodness gracious. And then here's the thing. You're only hearing one side, one person, and that person's going to be super critical and they have no forgiveness. They're not pulling any punches. They hate you. I was hating her. I was hating on my stepdad. It was justified. It was justified. That's what I'm saying. Charity. Right? That's what I'm talking about. You're having charity for somebody. Isn't that nuts? Isn't that crazy? Has anyone ever heard this? Right? And when you're seriously sitting there at the bar entertaining somebody else because they're talking all that slick stuff with you. You're sitting there at the bar, somebody's talking slick, you're getting drunk, having your cigarettes, talking smack about your ex. They're saying the same thing. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, next thing you know, you're trauma bonding with somebody who you're trauma bonding. It's a marriage made in hell. It's a marriage made in trauma. I would rather have somebody, basically, I would rather be with somebody who has forgiveness for me. I have forgiveness for them. I'm holding them down. They're holding me down. We're doing everything it takes. We're doing everything it takes. And it's just so crazy how light we are on that part as a society. Because we have no forgiveness. And it's like literally what I'm saying is like this literally is why there is a foundation in Christ in a marriage, in our relationships, in your entire life. And if you don't have that, you don't have it. You don't have nothing. That's why we're too soft on it. We'll just cave. There's no point. There's no point if we can't give it to the Lord. Because we'll never be satisfied. We'll just never be satisfied with that. With our life as it is, or with other people. That's why we need to be thankful. We need to have forgiveness. We need to, and I think most of the people, here's the crazy part. Every time people start talking about forgiveness in the church, you'll hear this one thing. You'll hear, but you don't have to hang out with that person. You don't have to hang out with that person if you don't want to. You don't have to go to lunch with them. But what if they're your boss? What if they're your kid? What if they're your wife? What if they're your parents? Oh, you don't have to go to lunch with them. You don't have to hang out with them. But what if you do? What are you doing then? What are you doing? For real. What are you going to do? Where are you going? Are you going to just start gossiping? Right? Are you going to just start gossiping louder and louder? Are you going to just start you see what I mean? Where are you going to go? Are you just going to get more and more ticked? I think most of the biggest thing that people do is, I think the biggest thing that people do they'll just bury it. They'll just bury it deep down. They just don't want to, they don't even want to address it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to talk about it. They want to just totally avoid it. They want to pick option C. Most people want to pick option C. They don't want to pick forgiveness on forgiveness. They think, oh, what about option C? And there's a saying that says, it's like the fence rider, and basically, after, there's this guy who's sitting on the fence between good and evil. And he's like sitting there going, oh, sweet, man. I can just sit right here on the fence. No big deal. And then his time was up, and then he started going over to the devil's side, and he's starting to go, what happened? And the devil goes, oh, you didn't know this? I built the fence. It was my fence. And the Lord says, he says, if you're not hot or cold, you're going to get spewed out of my mouth. Like, you basically have to be, making these decisions. And I would suggest you make the decision to have forgiveness. That's my opinion. That's my genuine opinion. It changed my life. Now I'm like dealing with things with that in mind. You know how often I have to deal with things? I'm like a regular person. He's like some kind of regular person. No, I'm like a regular person that have to deal with same problems like anybody else. I'm not special at all, bro. Not special, bro-et. I'm not. And basically what I'm saying is, I'm not special whatever. And I have to deal with this constantly. I have my ex-wife, her husband, her parents. They're my ex-in-laws. You think you have in-laws that are bad? Get ex-in-laws. You think your in-laws are bad now? Wait, make them your ex-in-laws. If you don't have forgiveness, you're going to be cooked, chat. Freaking shish kebarbed. That's it. That's all she wrote. Because you're going to cope until it kills you. You're going to get ticked off till you blow a gasket. So you start hurting yourself or others. Or you're going to have such strong depression and anxiety that you'll be frozen stiff. I used to get all of them. I used to just to have all of them. Whenever I had problems, I went through all of them, because guess what? There was no way out. So you try everything. First thing is I would try to cope. That didn't work. So I'd get depressed, have anxiety, and I'd get frozen stiff, and I'd be sleeping on the couch, and you couldn't get me off the couch. I'd be higher than a kite, drunk, hungover, whatever it was. That was it. That's all she wrote, because I could not deal with my problems. There's nothing in me that wanted to forgive. I was like, nope, not doing it. Completely disagreed. Absolutely not. And the more I did it, the more it would poison me. And it would just